Hi all, I hope you're doing well today. Many of you may have noted the recent mass stabbing attack in Hamburg Train Station in Germany. And I was sitting on this one for a while to let the details emerge. While we've been waiting for that, the typical thing has gone on social media. Many who lean right are assuming this had something to do with Islam. Those on the left say, no, you're an evil racist, and so on. Now, while it's certainly not absurd to claim that such attacks might have something to do with Islam, I mean, most of them tend to be these days, you have to be very, very careful in this day and age, because the Starminator and his Stasi will happily take you away from your family and throw you into one of these Muslim-dominated jails for getting one or two details wrong. So we do have to be careful where we tread. What's interesting about this particular attack is that it seems to have been a woman who's committed this atrocity, and she seems to be a white woman. I don't know where she's from. Al Jazeera, which remember is a very pro-Islam, almost leftist outlet, is saying she's a German woman, but in this day and age, what does that mean? You know, to the powers that be, a Somalian who just arrived in Germany, or Britain is a European who's German and British and so on. I've also seen some rumours that this woman was mentally ill and all of the victims of this brutal stabbing attack were all men, so it could be a radical feminist thing, although that's far from confirmed. But look, for the sake of argument, let's just say it is a German white woman. Deutsche Welle, I think that's the German version of the BBC, states German police do not consider the knife attack at Hamburg Central Station to be politically motivated and believe the attacker has a mental illness. She's now in a psychiatric clinic. But just like the BBC here at home, it seems that Deutsche Welle has one favourite pastime, and that's engaging in liberal propaganda. I quote from their article, "In recent months, Germany has been rocked by a series of violent attacks, many of which were motivated by jihadism or right-wing extremism." Now, before the Starminator sends a SWAT team out, let me make it clear. I'm mounting no defence here for right-wing extremism. Terrorism of any sort is obviously deplorable. What I'm interested in is whether it's true that Germany has been suffering from jihadism and right-wing extremism at the same levels, which Deutsche Welle makes it seem. Now, in order to get to the bottom of this, I asked ChatGPT to lay out for me the recent terror attacks in Germany in the last year or so. Now, for those of you who've used ChatGPT, I'm sure will know, it's very liberal coded, so you have to dig beneath the propaganda. It will tell you, a Buddhist actually attacked someone in 1973. And you have to say to it, yeah, I know, I'm sure some Buddhist many years ago thought he was a cross between Clark Kent and the Angel of Death. Whatever, there are psychos in every group. Just give me the brute facts, and eventually it will. Now, in the past year, Germany has suffered 4 Islamist-motivated attacks. That's quite a lot, and they've been quite extreme. Now, when it comes to far-right extremism, ChatGPT came up with one, which was this month actually, May 2025, where there was a bunch of teenagers arrested for planning supposed attacks on Germany's quote, democratic structures, as well as targeting migrants and left-wing infrastructure. Now, you can't mount any defence for this sort of thing. It's barbaric to plan these sorts of attacks, however young they may well be. But the issue here is the comparison to the Islamist attacks. It's one foiled attack versus 4 actual in the past year. Not to mention, when I asked ChatGPT how many foiled Islamist terror plots, there are more than they can mention. There's 4 major ones and many more they don't even know about. So again, unless I'm missing key information here, and do let me know down in the comments if I am, it seems to me that Germany hasn't been rocked by right-wing extremism in the same way as it has by jihadism. Now, when you look at other notable attacks which seemingly had no political or religious motive, you have the Hamburg attack, which this video is about, the Munich car attack, that was a 24-year-old Afghan asylum seeker, and the Hamburg train stabbing. Now, they don't tell you who that was, but when you put it into Wikipedia, it was a stateless man called Ibrahim A. In essence, 2 of those 3 were from new arrivals from the Islamic world, whether they were motivated by jihadism or not. Yet ChatGPT has come up with a helpful graph here to help us understand things, although I still think it's a bit biased, but never mind. It states in the past year or so, we've had 4 major attacks of an Islamist nature that have led to multiple deaths and injuries and multiple foiled plots. We've had 0 far-right confirmed deadly attacks and 1 major cell arrested. They were the stupid teenagers who've obviously got very lost and are very misled. And then we've got the unclear other ones, which, basically are due to mass immigration as well. So why does Deutsche Welle, like the BBC here back at home, love to imply that right-wing extremism is tantamount to jihadism when it's just evidently not? And again, if there are all these right-wing terror attacks going on that I've somehow missed, please do let me know down in the comments. But it seems to me that the media and the liberal class are playing a very familiar game here. It's the same game that Sadiq Khan was playing many years ago when he said that terror attacks are just part and parcel of living in London. What we must remember is that while the liberal mainstream harps on about diversity all the time, at root they despise real diversity because they have to imply that every group and every culture is exactly the same for their equalitarian project to work. And this is why, when Europe endures a host of Islamist terror attacks, they have to find a counterweight. And while I'm sure right-wing extremism is a problem in and of itself, it's certainly not tantamount to Islamic extremism like they imply. One thing I want to add finally is I have a little pet theory of what's going on with this Hamburg attack, if we're allowed theories in Starmer's Britain, that is. But for the grace of God go I against the liberal narrative. What's notable about this story is when you hear about a mass stabbing somewhere in a European city, you do think this is probably going to have something to do with Islamic terrorism. And while that will catch you the ire of lots of leftists, especially white Western women who for some reason see it as their duty to defend Islam like it's a naughty 12-year-old boy who's been caught smoking behind the bike sheds, while it's not an irrational assumption, we would probably be wise to wait until the full facts come out, because you just never know. And that's the case in point with this one. It seems like it's a white German woman, although I don't know that for sure, I could be wrong. But my point here is that why has this woman chosen this line of attack? Really, until the modern age, we didn't get attacks like this very often. And this leads me to my pet theory. We hear so much in this day and age, so much from the liberal regime about how diversity is a strength and how people have come here from other corners in the world and enriched us. They've showed us how to cook proper food because apparently our food is abysmal without them. We've been taught how to have proper carnivals and have real style, and on it goes. Yet if it's true that differing cultures could come into a nation and supposedly enrich it, wouldn't it be true on the counter as well? Couldn't it be true that different cultures could come in and expose a nation to a new level of violence and savagery? That's certainly true when it comes to things like knife crime in London. Vast swathes of immigration from very violent and dangerous parts of the world have meant that the level of savagery there has increased. But could it also be true that after witnessing the brutality and horror of the Islamist terror attacks, some psycho out there sees these on the news and all of a sudden has ideas that previously they couldn't fathom? Now, as I say, this is only a working theory rather than a conclusive truth, but it does go to show, are we only supposed to accept that diversity is always a net benefit here for us great unwashed, as ignorant heathens? But could it be true that due to mass immigration and liberal ideology, we've accepted into Europe and the wider Western world a third world savagery and violence that's having an impact on our own unwell and unhinged here too? Just something to ponder on, but do let me know your thoughts about it all down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.